Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Greetings, race fans, and welcome to Apex Racing TV's presentation of the Radical Esports Cup. J.R. Gregory here with you on the call. Beside me in the commentary booth, my partner, Aaron Smith, and in the production facility today, our good friend and colleague, Joshua Wilkie. And the star of today's show, the fantastic Radical SR10. Folks, this is one of the purest sports car experiences on iRacing. This car is propelled by a Ford EcoBoost 4-cylinder turbo, putting down 450 horsepower, tips the scales a full 1,000 pounds lighter than an MX-5 Cup car. No traction control, no anti-lock brakes. The SR10 can be a handful, but mastering this car will make you better at every car that you drive. And folks, we are showing the top split of the public server here today, as we do every Friday, 2100 GMT. So this is not a private event, not a league event. If you would like to give these fantastic radicals a try and appear here on Apex TV, go ahead and get some practice in, show up Friday, sign up, and if you make the top split, you will appear with us with some of the best radical racers in the world. And our upcoming schedule, fantastic. Watkins Glen, Virginia International Raceway, that is going to be a hot one. Road America, Sebring, and Interlagos. But this week, as you can see, 2024 Season 4, Week 8 brings us to Donington Park in the UK. This facility has been open since 1931, with a few years of inactivity between 1940 and 77. Past host to Formula One and a myriad of sports car racing over in the UK. The headline events at this facility currently: British Touring Car Championship and World Superbike, and a lot of other motorcycle racing. Today we are using, thankfully, the national circuit. It is 10 turns, 1.9 miles or 4 clicks. And the reason I say thankfully is the full circuit has a little extension that goes behind the grandstands on the main straightaway, the pit straight, and that part of the circuit features two things that these radicals hate: hairpins. Radicals don't really like standing on the nose and slowing up for those slow corners or powering out of them. So we're going to skip that part of the circuit and open it up to these fast sweepers where the Radical excels. Get some trail braking going, and you are going to have a good time. And Aaron, this track is super fun, a classic UK track. Somehow they managed to design it in a manner where a couple of apexes, critical apexes, are over are blind over crests and around corners. So super challenging. And I got to say, I think my favorite part is careening down that hill into turn 4, the old hairpin. And we're going to see some action down there today for sure. So what are you looking forward to as we settle in for this one?
I'm just looking forward to seeing these guys go around this track, to be honest. Like you said, very classic old British layout here at Donington. And I would have liked to have seen the GP layout being used, to be fair, because, yeah, it would have been a challenge. But seeing these guys go at a good challenge is always entertaining. But, yeah, definitely an easier layout for these radicals to take part in. It's going to be tricky racing wise. There's not too many low speed corners like you mentioned, and my god, qualifying's already over. That went by in a flash. And a very, very short lap time here, nearly under 1 minute, but they're just above, and we can jump straight into the grid already.
Yeah, these laps ticking by quick. Look at Andre Castro in pole at a 101.524. Yanakis will be next to him. Row 2 is going to be Kettle Larson next to Andreas Friedrich. Dulling and Kyriakopoulos will be behind them. In 7 and 8, Heinz Braun and James Berry putting in a qualifying time that we usually don't see out of him. He's usually at the pointier end of the field. Sally Reitinen and Bjorklund will be behind them. Paki Caruso will be next to Meyer and Iani there in 11 and 12. And speaking of a rough qualifying session, look at Jorge Gonzaga. He must have had some deleted laps to end up all the way back there in P13. So he is going to have his work cut out for him. And as is often in the case, Kyriakopoulos holding up the show currently. You see that empty spot on the grid there, and that's where Denis will be appearing. That is Andre Castro there on your left. He will have the inside line into that difficult kind of off-camber turn 1. So he will have the advantage, at least temporarily, as they make their way down that hill for the first time. We're going to see a number of laps here. The lap's very short in a timed race, so we're probably going to be in the 18 to 20 lap range by the time this one is done. And here are the lights. There's Kyriakopoulos, and we are about to go green here at Donington Park, and we're going to ride along with Castro. Castro getting away very nicely, and also getting away nicely is Friedrich. Friedrich already moving up there. Very good at starting these radicals. And going into turn 1, it is going to be Castro from Larson from Friedrich, who jumped up 1. And looks like Christopher Yanakis got the worst of that, falling 3 positions all the way down to P5 as we head down into what is called the old hairpin. A great corner here, great trail braking opportunity. Ride it all the way out to the dirt to get a good exit. And we are underway at Donington.
Yeah, clean start from our fairly short 13-car grid, and Yanakis got a huge amount of wheel spin off the line, and that is Gonzaga trying to make up places on, that was Reitinen, who he's just gained a place. Reitinen cuts across, and that's a big off. I don't know what on earth Reitinen was thinking there, as Iani was kind of alongside, and Reitinen just didn't expect it, cut across him, and that's late on the brakes from Yanakis. He's had a tragic first lap, got awful off the line, and just went deep into that last corner. He's now down to 8th place as he looked so quick during that qualifying session. Clearly the inexperienced Canadian very much struggling in these opening few laps, as he's one of the lowest iRacing drivers in the entire lobby, and definitely has some pace on him, but is just struggling to get to grips with the early laps here at Donington, as that's Braun going for a bit of lawn mowing on the exit of the old hairpin. But still, apart from that Reitinen incident, all the top cars separated by about 4.5 seconds.
Yeah, still a very tight pack, and there in the background, you saw Braun stuffing it into that hairpin, or that chicane rather, that precedes the start-finish straight. And Braun being Braun, if he sees a sliver of light, he's going to stuff that radical in there, and he is rewarded by moving up 2 into P5. And if we have a second, maybe we'll take another look at that pass. And here is Friedrich sticking it inside of Castro, or trying to. Or did I have that backwards? Maybe that's Castro on Friedrich. It's now Castro from Friedrich, from Kettle Larson, from Florian Dulling, from Heinz Braun. And my goodness, what a move. Josh, maybe we can take another look at that. It looked like it looked like he was going to cause a calamity, but manages to get through clean. And here is Braun, and still warming his tires there. And Yeah, just manages a little over and under there. I thought that he had stepped in on the entry to that chicane, but still got a position out of that one. Lap time's already falling. Florian Dolnig now, your leader at fast lap of 101.9. And as this one wears on, Aaron, I would not be at all surprised to see us get into the 59s.
It could be a potential towards the end of this race, and this is what happened with Reitinen. Already banging wheels there with Gonzaga, and then, yeah, cuts across Iani, and straight into the wall he goes. We will not be seeing him for the rest of this race. Big damage to his SR10 as we come across the line for lap 4 already, as we head into the 101s, the latter stages of them, as Iani looking for a move on Bjorkland. Not quite close enough there to go for a move, and this is what I'm talking about here at Donington. It's quite difficult to follow other cars, especially in these higher downforce radicals, as the understeer you can see there through turn 3, very much different from the kind of setups we were getting last week, where the car was practically undrivable. A lot more, what we're used to here, understeer central in this car. Still a lot of downforce to carry you through those high-speed corners. That's Bjorkland and Iani both taking the same line there through McLean at turn 7. Bit of a mess here at the back. They can't seem to get a hang of this Donington circuit. And even though it's a very short layout, it's not the easiest, clearly.
Yeah, and my goodness, Iani looking racy there. I thought we're gonna see him stuff it in there. He stuck his nose in the entry to turn 1. I can't actually recall seeing him pass there. It's very difficult off camber, kind of late apex corner, and Iani looked like he was thinking about it there. And the field starting to spread out a little bit. Castro building up that gap. He's got about a half second on Friedrich, who has about 0.8 on Larson, 0.6 back to Dulling, and then 0.7 back to Caruso. So cars fanning out a little bit here, and without a long straight to get these cars sucked up together due to the slipstream, we may see this one spread out. And there's Braun getting a little lawn mowing back there. That's going to cost him that hard-earned position. You see him wiggling. He's still wiggling. He roasted those back tires, having a hard time putting the power down. And my goodness, Braun falling from 5 to 7 there, and lucky to gather that one up. We're going to get a quick replay now, and we're going to see Braun heading into this right-hander, goes a little wide, gets on the power. And without the dirt tires on that thing, some pretty good opposite lock, Aaron, to keep that radical out of the wall.
Yeah, he had to be hustling for that one, and has already had some excursions through the grass, and clearly is not getting on well with this car and track combination, as usually we're seeing Braun towards the front of the field. But today, definitely struggling in the middle of the pack, as that's Barry also going for a bit of an off there at the old hairpin, and you kind of have to use the outside of the track there, but use too much and you'll be off into the kitty litter if you're not careful, as the cars at the back, like we saw Gonzaga, Bjorkland, Iani, some drivers who again we're used to seeing towards the mid or at least the top half of the field. This track definitely proving to be a bit of a challenge here today, as just noticing as well, Friedrich is catching Castro and is right on the back of him. And, we're used to Castro kind of running away with it, but not this time round. Friedrich is definitely looking like a very feisty driver today. After a bit of a tough start to this season, he's finally getting his hustle on, and we're used to seeing Friedrich so far up the field, and this is definitely where he wants to be.
Yeah, Friedrich looking very racy indeed. And in the Radical Discord this week, comments were flying about his pace out here at Donington. So last couple of weeks, we've seen James Barry in this position challenging Castro. This week, it is going to be his teammate Friedrich, who has cranked that gap down to 0.4 now. And, as they always say, it's one thing to catch him, it's another thing to pass him. So we'll have to see what Friedrich wants to do if he gets within striking distance. I think this spot right here has some potential. We've seen some passes take place here heading into this chicane that bypasses that the international circuit portion there that goes back behind those pit straights that you're seeing. But so far, Castro able to hold him off, although that gap maintaining 0.3, 0.4, and we'll see if Friedrich has a chance on this lap.
Well, it's going to be a tough old challenge for Friedrich, but he's experienced, much like Andrea Castro. So two very experienced, very quick drivers going at it at an old circuit. And very much going back in time for this one. And he's just got to be patient. Friedrich, he just needs to keep his head, as following another car around here, like I said before, is not easy. And he just needs to wait for that opportunity, put the pressure on Castro, maintain that gap, and just wait, because he's got a lot of time, you know, another 10 or 15 minutes in this race, another, you know, about 15 laps as well. He's just got to wait. And while we wait for that battle to kick off, we can watch Caruso, who's already had a pretty good race so far, up 6 places. And is it going to be another one as he is right behind Florian into turn 1? Ooh. This looks like a fairly easy overtake. And I don't think Florian was looking to fight that one too much. Up the inside you go. And up 7 places now for Caruso.
Wow, what a drive by Caruso, the hard charger by a mile. And you're right, Dolnick saw Caruso next to him and thought to himself, well, that is nuts. I want no part of that, and did not contest that very ballsy pass there into turn 1. And up front, it is still Castro from Friedrich, from Larson, Caruso, and Dolnick. And here's another look at Caruso's move here. Dolnick going way outside. Caruso wiggling there, a little under braking, and so tough to get that radical woed up and rotated. That turn 1 brutally off camber there, and Caruso making that one look easy. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I don't think Florian was choosing to fight that one too much and just let him go. I think he can see that Caruso is being a hard charger today and is putting on the pressure to anyone who stands in his way. And actually, to be honest, we've got enough time left in this race that Caruso can catch up to the leaders. He's not too far off. He's right behind Kettle Larson. And I would not be surprised if we saw a move for 3rd place for Caruso within the next few laps. And then can he put the pressure on the leaders as well, get involved in the fight up ahead? As, to be honest, he looks like by far the quickest driver on the track at the moment. He's set his personal best last time out and was about 2.5 tenths quicker than anyone else on the track, including both your leaders.
Yeah, he is flying, and some great camera work there by our producer Josh as you watch Caruso reeling in Kettle Larson like he's got a rope tied to him. Look at that gap dropping down. He's got it down to under 0.3 now, and Caruso not being shy at all here. And see if he tries another move here into turn 1. You see that little wiggle there under braking. That's kind of interesting. But yeah, he is definitely all over Larson like the plastic on grandma's couch right now. See what happens on this lap.
That's an interesting comparison, but fair enough. As getting very close there is Friedrich on the back of Castro. But again, the problem around this track is you can get oh so close, but unless the car in front makes a mistake or you are just so much quicker, it's super difficult to actually go for a move. There's just not the space nor the time to really think about it, get close enough to the car in front. And it's just going to be a waiting game for Caruso and Friedrich to both make their respective moves. And, well, Larson, I'm not sure how much he's going to want to defend this, as this is Iani trying to get past Kyriakopoulos around the outside at the final chicane. Not ideal for 2 cars to go side by side through there. And they both ended up going single file, which is what you want, as Caruso, by the way, has actually gotten into 3rd now, whilst we were watching that. And this is how Kyriakopoulos got past, I believe that's James Barry on the outside. And fairly simple move, as Iani, apologies, as very similar liveries from Barry and Iani. But yeah, Iani and other drivers clearly struggling a lot at this track. And we can take a look at how Caruso did get past Larson. You can just see how close he is. Let me guess, faking a move. Yep, the classic dummy move on Kettle Larson. And I don't think the Norwegian was fighting that one a huge amount. Tried to keep himself in it, but just about got overtaken there by Caruso. And fair racing between those two. And Caruso now right on the back of Friedrich, excuse me, as Iani and Kyriakopoulos going side by side again. And Iani might actually get this one done this time. Around the outside of the last chicane. Into turn 1, got the inside line. I imagine this will be fairly easy for him to keep a hold of. And yes, nice and easy there, up into 11th again. And let's hope he can keep it on the track. As, by the way, Caruso, first man into the 1 dead. The 1-0-0.9. So fair play. The Italian is, I don't think we've seen him really, you know, go this quick that much at all this season. But clearly he's the one driver so far this race who's getting on extremely well here at Donington.
Yeah, ridiculous. Caruso having the drive of his life right now. He is up 8 positions, and look at him reel in the people in front of him. He's already got Friedrich now down to .2. Can he dispatch Friedrich and have a shot at Castro? Folks, these laps are so short. We're only on lap 14 of 24, and with 10 to go, you got to like Caruso's opportunity to keep going here, unless he's pushing that radical too hard. Tire temp can build up in these things and can get you into trouble if you take too many withdrawals from the bank of grip. You may be overdrawn and when that grip is most needed, but there are 1 through 3 there, and they're separated by about 0.6 of a second as they make their way around the old hairpin and onto the backside of the course. Really great stuff here today.
Yeah, a lot closer racing than I think most of us were expecting. Caruso does have to be careful though, as it looks like he is playing with track limits a little bit, and well, they have a bit of a leeway. In iRacing, you get 17 incident points. Oh, it's just a potential move for Friedrich. Thought about it into the final chicane, but didn't go for it in the end. And look how close Caruso and Castro and Friedrich are all together. This is going to go down into turn 1. Are we going to go 3 wide into turn 1 for the lead of the race? We are on board now. Caruso round the outside of Andreas Friedrich. That was an amazing move. A little bit of contact there with Castro. This is where it all kicks off now. They've all got the chance to potentially go into the lead of the race, but no one could get close to Castro. And unfortunately, Caruso was left out to dry. And that's Friedrich nearly losing the car as he went through the old hairpin, as Larson now trying to go round the outside on Friedrich, but didn't have the run on him quite there. That was extremely close there. I thought Friedrich was about to take himself and Caruso far out of this race and into Alton Park. That was an airplane crash. We can get a replay of what on earth just happened. And Castro got to watch all of this in his rearview mirror. I think Friedrich just tried to keep that second place too desperately, nearly loses the car. Bit of contact with Caruso there. And that could have been so much worse if we were, say, in Formula cars with open wheels. That would have been, oh dear, someone would have been head over heels there, as Friedrich is really struggling now. He's really lost all of the confidence that he once had. And you're starting to think that maybe he should have just gone for that move into the last corner.
Yeah, really great stuff up front here as Friedrich going code brown on that last lap. Larson almost able to take advantage last time around, and Larson sniffing around back behind Friedrich again. And Friedrich may have overtaxed those front tires in his pursuit of Castro, with Caruso applying pressure from the rear. And now it has happened. Caruso has moved up into P2 with 0.7 in front of him to Castro with about 8 laps remaining. And with the pace that Caruso has been displaying, he may have a crack at Castro by the time this is over. Caruso now up 9 positions, Aaron, and this is not, you know, a classic passing track. Qualifying so important, as you see Barry still back there struggling in P8, Gonzaga in P10, Iani in P12, Reitman in 13, and a lot of that due to bad qualifying out here today. And my goodness, and the qualifying position not bothering Caruso at all. And here's Larson again and Friedrich, and oh my goodness, right up to the edge of the dirt. And who is joining the party from behind as the hard battling continues here in the UK. A little shortcut.
Oh, no!
And tragedy strikes. That is going to be Friedrich taking out. Oh, who did he take out there? Is that Larson? That is Friedrich and Larson in the kitty litter, and that great scrap that was going on there ends just that quickly. And my goodness, that is the nature of door banging in these radicals. Wow, that was unreal.
Well, I didn't really see what happened there. It just looked like Friedrich lost complete control going through turn 6. I can imagine there was contact involved there somewhere. And, well, I mean, once you cut the grass on this track, it's most likely you're going to end up hitting someone. And unfortunately, it was the man he was fighting P3 with. Kettle Larson's going to be absolutely livid. Let's have a look at what actually happened. Was it Yanakis, maybe? It was. They were coming towards turn 7. And Yanakis just completely ran into the back of Friedrich. And by process of elimination, he eliminated Larson out of that as well, who has gone back to the pits. I imagine he's had some huge suspension damage. And we can take one more look at it from Christopher Yanakis, who's had a bit of a tough race himself, trying to get back up. And in fairness...
Wow.
In fairness, it was a bit of a check-up from Friedrich. You can't entirely put the blame on Yanakis for that one. But yeah, I think it was a bit of a misjudgment from the Canadian at the same time.
Yeah, too right, Aaron. And Yanakis turning that tap and run into a podium. He's now all the way up into P3 now, and something has happened. Look at that gap. Oh, that's Yanakis up to Caruso. So sorry, the gap between Castro and Caruso is still 0.5, and they have driven off from Yanakis there in P3. That's up to about a 4-second gap, and the battling is going to continue, and that's something that we see in these radicals week after week. It doesn't matter where you are in the field, they're always fighting and dicing one another, and that's what makes covering and watching these radical races so fun. And here's Braun now sniffing around behind Barry, who's looking. I'm sorry, that is Braun looking at Dolnig with Barry behind, and Dolnig looking up at Yanakis. So that is a podium position there that Braun can see. Plenty of time left here. And Braun, as I said before, not at all shy. And following those drivers, there will be Barry, Bjorklund, and Gonzaga. So Barry slowly but steadily improving his lot after a rough qualifying.
Well, you'd think that the Brit would get a lot better on here at Donington, but clearly has just, well, hated this track, clearly. Didn't do well in qualifying, and isn't doing amazingly in the race either. You know, P6, we're used to him at least fighting for a podium, but just has not gotten on well with this car and track combination, as Iani just set the fastest lap of the race. Very, very surprising, all the way down in 10th place, but fair enough, as I kind of think that Caruso, to an extent, is just being held up by Castro at this point, and this is what happened to Friedrich. He was just following him lap after lap after lap, and didn't really have an opportunity to actually go for a move. And, well, the one time that we saw Friedrich be close enough, he just didn't go for it, and I think he should have been a bit more aggressive that time round, as Castro and Caruso have both just set the exact same lap time, which just goes to show just how quick they are and how evenly matched they are. And I think Castro he's just been patient this whole race. He's not really overly pushed the car. He's just glided his way through this race, hasn't really overdone it, hasn't overcooked those tires, which I suspect is what happened to Friedrich, and at this point I think is what's happening to Caruso. Is he's used up all those Michelins trying to get to the front of the field, has done that, and is now paying the price for it. And he might not be able to fight for the win, but it's still a damn good race from Caruso nonetheless.
Yeah, fantastic drive from Caruso, and my goodness, too right about Castro, who was driven away from the pole, never really had much pressure. And you're right, he's been driving smooth, driving easy, hasn't had to drive offline, hasn't had to dive bomb anybody or make any moves. So he's having a Sunday drive in the park here, and his tires are rewarding him for that. And here we are, great camera shot, looking over Caruso, shoulder down into the old hairpin, looking forward at Castro, and incredibly, it looks like we got a little back marker there. That may be Larson, who's still out on track after having a couple of incidents, and might he get involved here in the last 3 laps? We got 3 remaining now, and Caruso running out of time. That gap has been about 0.5 for a couple of laps here. He hasn't been able to close down much, and just as I say that, he takes off another 10th. He's got it down to 0.4, and Castro there weaving to break the draft. Will we see a little dive here, or will we see Castro get close enough to try his favored move, which is that ridiculous inside move into turn 1?
Well, we've got 2 laps to find out if Caruso can do anything to try and put the pressure on Andrea Castro. And like you said, will Larson maybe get involved here? Will he be a bit of a blockage for these two? Maybe will he exact revenge for being a lap down? I don't know. What will he do? Or will he just be normal and let both of these guys through? That's what I'm expecting, but you just never know, as that's Bjorklund and James Barry getting very, very close to one another. Bjorklund thought about a move into the old hairpin for a second, but then thankfully thought better of it, as here's Florian on the back of, I believe this is, no, Florian is under pressure from Braun, my apologies, as Yanakis, like you said earlier on, punching his way into a 3rd place, as Braun going for a move up the inside, and that looked very easy. I don't think Florian fought that one at all, as Barry and Bjorklund still fighting. Barry just about holding on to that 6th place as we head onto the final lap of the race. And look at Bjorklund pushing Gonzaga onto the grass and nearly pushing him out of the race. But I believe they just about went through turn 1 cleanly, as Caruso is getting closer to Castro, but will it be enough? As Bjorklund really is coming under pressure from Gonzaga here as we head into the old hairpin. We've seen a few moves through here, bit of netcode there. Bjorklund's been pushed off the road, and Gonzaga goes straight on through, no questions asked, as he goes up into 7th place. And I can't imagine Bjorklund's going to be too happy about that one.
No, my goodness, yeah, that is teammates Barry and Gonzaga both taking Bjorklund to the woodshed there on the same lap. Bjorklund had been sitting pretty in P6. Now he's down to 8th as the white flag is out now. Castro obviously, no, that is the checker. My apologies. So Castro has taken the checker in what looked like a fairly easy run for him. And my goodness, a lot of shuffling throughout the rest of the field. And again, yeah, classic radical race there. There's some discussion online about some of the contact that went on. I think Yanakis might be having an analytical conversation with whoever that driver he struck from behind. Who was that? Friedrich he hit from behind, taking out Friedrich and Reitinen and landing himself up into P3, that where he remained. And here is a replay of that. And does Friedrich check up here? And we'll see it from Friedrich's perspective. Now we're looking back at the approaching car of Christopher Yanakis, and doink, there it is, into the grass, sideways into Reitinen, like picking up that 7-10 split, and Yanakis was going to hang on to that P3 and get a podium. And a couple drivers here getting podiums that we haven't seen at the pointy end of the field, particularly Caruso. And again, folks, 9 positions in a fairly short sprint race at Donington Park is something to be proud of.
Well, and he very could have easily won this race given maybe a few things going his way. I think the fight with himself and Friedrich, which cost him about half a second, definitely impacted that. Might have been carrying damage after that as well, but it was a very, very entertaining race and very, very good drive from Caruso. Something we've not really seen him do that much this season, but perhaps this is a bit of change of pace for the Italian.
Yeah, absolutely. And my goodness, Donington not disappointing. And I'm going to take a quick peek, Aaron, outside in our waiting room and see if I can drag some folks in for interviews here. And why don't you run the folks through our final standings?
Will do. And as we're so often used to saying this season, it's Andrea Castro again winning half a second from Caruso. Like we said, amazing drive for the Italian, one of the best we've seen him do in this series as a whole. Christopher Yanakis ended up in 3rd, and well, after his quite frankly awful start, which he dropped all the way to 8th, good comeback, but wasn't without contact, of course, as Heinz Braun, another driver who's had a bit of an iffy race and still ended up in 4th nonetheless, Florian Dolnig ended up in 5th, James Barry in 6th, Gonzaga with a fantastic last lap move to get up to 7th, Bjorklund in 8th, Kirakopolis 9th, Mariani in 10th, Andreas Friedrich, who had opportunities to go for the lead of the race, but I think was oddly just being a bit too passive, which cost him the rest of this race. Ended up in 11th place. Sauli Reisenen in 12th after that lap 1 crash, and Kessel Larsen 2 laps down in the end after he was fighting for a podium for so long. Ended up in 13th and last.
All right. Well, thank you, Aaron. And uncharacteristically, oh, wait a minute. There is, I'm going to call him the silent A. Looks like Andre Castro is in the waiting room. I'll go ahead and drag him up for an interrogation from Aaron, and be sure and give him a hard time about coming into the booth muted last time. And I see he's muted now. So we'll see if he finds that button in time to respond to your question. So here he is.
Well, Andrea Castro, before I actually ask any questions, can you hear us this time? Can you speak? Oh, for God's sake.
No, we're good. We're good.
There we go. There we go. We've actually got you this time, Andrea. And we can talk to you this time. Well, it's another victory for you. It wasn't as easy as we've seen in previous weeks, but it was still fairly easy, all things considered. You didn't really have to worry about anyone behind, did you?
I did. I mean, yeah, Packy came on really strong at the end there. And yeah, I was pretty concerned because I only had about 10 minutes of practice. So I was on lap. I wasn't sure if I could pull it off in qualifying, and I definitely wasn't as comfortable as in some of the other races where I had a little bit more. But yeah, I was happy. I mean, I was able to test at Donington in real life a couple years ago, so that was a GP layout. So I think I was struggling mostly in the chicane, that last chicane. But yeah, held it together there. Finally got a decent start, and yeah, Andreas and then Packy were all over me. So I definitely was having to. I had to defend a couple times, and they looked really fast. But in the end, they came together a bit. I think that took Andreas out, and then Packy was really strong, but managed to hold him off.
Yeah, it's I guess, yeah, it wasn't as easy as it was in previous weeks, and yeah, the track position is just so important here. And well, speaking of here, Donington, it looked like a bit of a handful today. A lot of drivers struggling around this relatively short layout. Do you find that to be the case as well? Was it a bit of a challenge, or were you just kind of sailing through it?
I mean, yeah, like I said, I just think I didn't prepare so much. So yeah, it was a handful trying to stay in front of those guys because they're really quick. So I had to just focus really hard and push as hard as I could every lap. You know, I think the other races sometimes towards the end I had a bit of a gap and I could relax, but definitely none of that here, because if I missed the corner, last couple tenths, they would gain a good bit of ground on me. So yeah, just had to stay switched on pretty much the whole time. And yeah, the track itself, I mean, it's tough because you have a couple blind corners, a lot of high commitment corners, basically. You know, we don't have the hairpin with the GP track, so yeah, pretty much every corner is pretty high commitment, and if you miss it, it's going to be big. So yeah, it's a tough one, but you know, it's one that I definitely, it helped knowing the track a bit more. Even with the lack of practice, I knew the track, so that was good. And you know, everybody raced me clean. I think Packy and I touched a second there, but that, you know, we got away with it. So yeah, I don't know. I can't speak for, I didn't really see back in the pack, but you know, for me, it was definitely sketchy just having to push so hard.
Yeah, that's the trouble with this national layout is a lot higher speed, and especially in these radicals, since they're so understeery, so easy to end up in the grass, or even worse if you're not careful. Well, moving on to the next few races that we've got. So we're heading to Watkins Glen, which is, well, similar in terms of high speeds at this track, but you have a lot more margin for error. How are you feeling for that track?
Feel good. I mean, you know, definitely have more laps there than pretty much any other track in the sim, and just it's kind of a home track being from New York. So yeah, I feel good. I just think it's going to be a lot more draft focused. Probably. I mean, we'll see, but it's definitely going to be playing the draft game. So it's going to be tight. It's going to be competitive, and hopefully, we can split again and have another 5K SOF, which was nice to have this week. And yeah, I'm sure everybody will come prepared, and we're gonna have a good battle.
Yeah, it should be very, very entertaining at Watkins Glen in 1 week's time. And well, as always, Andrea, always a pleasure to have a chat with you after these races. And before we let you go, anyone you want to give a mention or shout out to?
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. I mean, just again to you guys for continuing to put on the show. I know you've done it for many seasons now, so hopefully that keeps going as long as you guys are willing, because we love the attention that goes into it. And yeah, thanks to Packy, Andreas for having a good race, and everybody else for continuing to race clean and having a good championship. It's been a really fun season so far. I definitely didn't envision myself doing as many races as I have, but kind of stayed around because it started off well, and the racing was always good. So hopefully we can keep it up going forward the rest of the season.
Oh, thank you very much for the kind words, and I'm sure your fellow drivers appreciate it as well. Well, thank you for your time, Andrea, and good luck for next week.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron. Thanks, guys.
All right, that was your winner, Andre Castro. And lurking around in the waiting area, I have come across Jorge Gonzaga. And I guess my first question, Jorge, you almost got hard charger if it had not been for Packy Caruso turning in the drive of his life. He moved up 9 positions, but you managed to move up 6 from a P3 and a P13 in quali. So what happened in your qualifying run?
Yeah, I didn't warm up the tires properly, and I had 2 off tracks, and I was so pissed because I feel I had pace to be at least on the top 5 on the grid. Yeah, so it was a bit disappointing, to be honest. Yeah.
Well, excellent work working your way through the field, and quite a bit of mayhem out there, actually. I'm sure you gained a couple positions passing cars in the grass. So what do you think was behind kind of the door banging and the rough driving out here today?
Well, I'm going to say I think it's the usual suspects, to be honest. It is what it is. I know everyone has their bad days. I surely had my fair share of bad days, but I guess some drivers have more bad days than others, and usually it's always the same people involved in these incidents. And I don't know, it's really unfortunate because it took 2 really competitive drivers. Yeah, I don't have much comment apart from this to say, but yeah, it's unfortunate. But yeah, lucky for me, I get to places for free, so freebies.
All right. Well, Jorge, gracious as always, is not going to name names. We'll review our notes here and see if we can identify the culprit. But pretty interesting schedule looking ahead, and VIR kind of sticks out in my mind. What are you looking forward to most in the second half of the season this year?
Well, the biggest thing for me is there's no Nords anymore, so that's the key thing. But yeah, absolutely, VIR is one of my favorite tracks as well. It's still very British style track, so I love those. It's going to be really competitive driving, and it's really amazing to do it on the Radical. But yeah, the schedule, it looks to be like a popular track, so we foresee to see many splits, which is great because these past 2 weeks, unfortunately, not because of the quality of the tracks, is they're less popular, so obviously the grids are much smaller. So I think we're going to end the season in great form. Everyone is going to be there's going to be a lot of drivers, a lot of new drivers as well, so that's something to keep an eye out. But yeah, in terms of championship, I'm trying to fight. I think Packy passed me with this amazing result. I think this race was the highest SOF we ever had. It was 5K, which was insane. So I think Packy passed me now for the second place. So yeah, really looking forward for the rest of the season. It's going to be amazing track selection, amazing selection of drivers as well to race with. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
All right, and my trying to pull up the standings here on my phone. Let's see here. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're all the way up into P3, so you're having an excellent season so far. So congratulations on that. It looks like Caruso just nipped you by 13 with that miraculous drive that he pulled off. But wow, fantastic race, and you'll go back and watch the broadcast. We had a good time. It looked like drivers are having fun out there. So as we wrap up, Jorge, is there anyone you would like to thank or give a shout out to today? I
actually want to give a big shout out to Kim. We had a really tight. I don't know if it showed up on the broadcast, but it was really door to door on the last lap, and it was amazing. And it was a bit of banging on. I don't know the name of the corner. I think it's T4. I need to look at the replay. If I had any fault, I do apologize, but I tried to keep it as respectful. But a big shout out to him because he's a really good competitor. We've been in many championships together. It's amazing to drive with him. He's very, very competitive, but very fair. So a big shout out to him and my teammates as well. I know today was not the best of days, but for our team, but yeah, surely we're going to be there on the end of the season.
Yeah, and your scrap with Bjorklund did get some airtime and looked pretty clean to me. You guys swapped a little bit of paint, but that's racing within the tight confines here at Donington. So thank you, Jorge, for stopping by, and we will see you next week at Watkins Glen.
Okay, see you guys. Bye-bye.
Alrighty, take care. All right, and that was Jorge Gonzaga, finished a P7, but after a pretty impressive charge all the way up from P13, a gain of 6 positions from his qualifying position. And we always appreciate Jorge and his good cheer and his observations about the race when he comes up to see us. So, well, I'll tell you, folks, we are not just about these radicals here on Apex Racing TV. We have got some of the best cars, best drivers, and best tracks on YouTube. And coming up this weekend, as the weather cools off, the racing is heating up. On Sunday, we have Champion Motorsports IRTES multi-class endurance racing at Road America. So that's with the P1 cars and GT3 cars for 6 hours. That is going to be a good one. Also, Racing Unleashed GT3s at Suzuka for a little shorter program. And on Monday, the Simware.eu Porsche Cup Series at Hockenheim and Hockenheim, a fantastic track for those 992 Cup cars. Also, the Rikmatech multi-class sports car series will move on to Silverstone. So, my goodness. Well, that is going to conclude today's broadcast of the Radical Esports Cup. And be sure to join us next week, Friday, 2100 GMT, for more Radical action at Watkins Glen. And I am J.R. Gregory on behalf of myself, my partner, Aaron Smith, our excellent producer, Joshua Wilkie, and everybody here at Apex Racing TV. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great Friday and an even better weekend.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use